Hi, welcome to the Atheist Experience, live from beautiful Dillahunty International Studios. Hey, I heard music. Joe's working the sound for us today. We're rotating people through so we can train so that if anybody wants to take a day off, we can still do as much of the show as possible. It's Sunday, and since I don't see the graphics like I normally do, I've completely forgotten what the date is.
20th.
So the 20th?
21st.
21st?
21st.
All I know is it's Father's Day. We are live here. Happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. We are not fathers. We're just a couple of mothers. But happy Father's Day to my dad, who isn't watching the show, but I'll call him afterwards. As a reminder, even though we normally go to dinner after the show, we're actually not going to do that today because it's Father's Day and people have stuff to do with their dads. So, and I'll probably mention that again. But anyway, this is the Atheist Experience, live every Sunday from 4:30 to 6 p.m. Central. You can sort out the time in your own time zone. You can go to our website, www.atheist-experience.com, for more information about the show. We're sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin, a nonprofit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. You can find out more about the ACA at the ACA website, www.atheist-community.org. You can also email us at tv@atheist-community.org. That email goes to myself, the co-hosts, most of the people behind the scenes. I'm forever and a day behind on emails, but other people have jumped in. We can't possibly answer all of them, but we do read all of them, and I'll do what I can to get caught up when I can. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing well, Matt. Thank you.
This
How are
is
you?
Jeff D., who I hadn't actually introduced, and I'm Matt Dillahunty.
Yeah.
We are
the Atheist Experience guys.
See, he's so used to saying
This
the
time
non-profits.
Yeah.
Because that's another program the ACA also sponsors, which is also done from here.
Yeah.
Created by Jeff D.
Sometimes even with people sitting on this very couch.
Sometimes. And a table with some other chairs out, because we get 4 or 5 voices involved. Dennis Lobay hosts the show. It features myself, Russell Glasser, Schilling, at least for next week. Thad England joins us on occasion. Jeff D. when we can get him. And you can find out more about that at nonprofitsradio.com. That's PROPHETS. And we're live every other Saturday on that show. We were not live yesterday. We'll be live next week. As a reminder, I still haven't checked the calendar, but on the weekend of July 11th, 12th, somewhere in that range, I've forgotten the dates, there won't be any shows. No nonprofits, no Atheist Experience, because I will be in Las Vegas, baby.
At TAM, right?
At TAM. The Amazing Meeting 7, hosted by the James Randi Educational Foundation. It's a huge skeptics conference that I've been wanting to go to for, 7 years now, and this year I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
Already booked, already set up, good to go.
Awesome.
And Beth and I will be down there and kicking back and enjoying it. If you want to find out more about the ACA, you can go to the website. And normally you could call us on the telephone because we take live calls during the show. But since we're not in the public access studio, we're doing this from my home. We're doing it over Skype. Now, Skype is a voice over IP application, so you'll need a computer, which if you're watching this, I think you probably have one. There's a chance that we may rebroadcast this at the public access. But for now, we're streaming it live over Ustream. Frank will get the website address. Although, does it really make sense to put the Ustream address up on the show that you're Ustreaming? Never mind, you don't have to worry about that.
We're done.
Downloads,
For those people that catch this episode on, say...
But the graphics don't go to that. Oh. The graphics only go to the stream. Wow. Hey, we're doing the best we can with what we got. We've got, what, 3 computers, a soundboard, a video camera, a pegboard full of all kinds of decoders.
There's amazing,
a DVD.
They've got one of those things with the 2 wires, the lightning that goes up, like you see in old horror movies. They got one of those. It's awesome.
We have Muhammad, the sacred cow.
And who's the other one?
I forgot.
Also Muhammad?
Muhammad.
Son of Muhammad?
Muhammad Jr. Well, this one's Sufi and this one's Sunni. Anyway, I think Shiite. Yeah, we've completely forgotten. Oh, Shiite. I completely forgot what we were talking about. This is what happens when you do guerrilla TV from home.
You were doing
and it's live.
credits. You were doing announcements and things.
I was doing announcements.
Sort of.
Anyway, normally we get together. Oh, Skype. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Download Skype, SKYPE, from Skype.com. Set yourself up an account and add the account Atheist TV, ATHEIST TV. No spaces, all one word, boom. Do not call. What, did I spell it wrong?
No.
What are you grinning about?
That it is often spelled wrong. Athiest.
Yes.
The atheist. Yeah, I'm the most atheist.
I'm the atheist. I'm more atheist than you.
But now I'm just confusing everyone, so
Yeah.
I was having my own little private joke.
Okay, but I can see you.
If it's important,
And they can
if it's
see
important,
you.
believe me, I'll elbow you or something to
Okay.
say, allow me to speak.
All right. So anyway, if you download Skype and set up an account and add Atheist TV, you can then communicate with the show. Do not call. Do not make calls to Atheist TV. There are a number of great things about Skype. We've had a lot of feedback over the last week. We greatly appreciate it. One is that the audio quality is really good. We're hoping that continues. We're using different mics this week, so please feel free to keep the feedback coming. But there's a lot of things that we can't do with Skype, and one is to have multiple callers queued up in actual calls like we can in the studio where we have multiple lines. What we've had to do is send an IM to Atheist TV with your name, where you are, what you'd like to talk about, and Joe will review those, talk to you, get you added to a queue, and then he will make outgoing calls. So if you want to be called, get that information, and then wait by your Skype for the call. And don't call us, we'll call you. It worked out really well last week, but we didn't get to nearly, I mean, there were only like a dozen or so people that were waiting to call. We only took 3, 4, 5.
That's because,
Well, there's
there's those calls that just go on too long.
over the past week, there's, I don't know, 70, 80 new people who sent their contact stuff right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many are waiting, but do you have anything you want to get to before we take calls?
No, I got stuff, that I can throw out there, but if we got callers lined up, let's take them.
Who do we have, Joe?
That's always the funnest, most fun part of the show.
Pete Belcher from Illinois.
Pete from Illinois. We're calling you now. Dun, dun, dun. It's ringing, I think.
And we can't hear that, huh? I don't hear it.
I turned off the ringing noises. We won't hear anything until Pete actually answers.
So, what do we do with this awkward moment when we're waiting for the
Can you hear
caller
me?
to pick up?
I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you guys.
Is this Pete from Illinois?
Indeed it is.
How are you,
Okay.
sir?
Just fine.
What did you want to talk about?
First-time caller, long-time viewer, and I wanted to make a bit of a prediction. I'm hold on a second. I'm getting like double. Okay, there. Sorry about that. I was getting sort of like an echo there.
Have you got
Anyway, I have a sort of 2012 prediction,
Yeah.
which relates back to the whole resurrection thing. I know that, Matt, that you dealt with somebody by the name of K-Bane. His name was Jake when he called the show on your show a couple weeks ago. But essentially my prediction for 2012, aside from the obvious fact that nothing is likely to happen, is the fact that many of these people who are sort of new age gurus and have a lot invested into making all of these predictions and claims about 2012, despite the fact that nothing will happen, will claim that something has happened. Either they'll claim that it was something which was only experienced by an elect few, or they will say that it is something intangible, like a shift in cosmic consciousness, which I know a lot of them are already hedging their bets in that department, or they will say essentially that some mass event was averted by the intervention of some guru. And the way that relates back to the resurrection is the fact that I think that there's a kind of a naivete when it comes to the resurrection apologists, in the fact that they seem to have this core premise that if Jesus had not risen from the dead, the disciples just wouldn't have ever bothered to make the claim that he was. They had too many reasons not to. But in reality, when we actually stop and look at situations in which prophecies have been disconfirmed in some way, what happens more often than not is that the groups will invent victory out of the jaws of defeat. We would expect normal, rational people to just simply go, okay, we were wrong, and disband. But groups like this, more often than not, they say, well, something did happen. It's just that you weren't around to see it. And I think that, undermining their premises for why they think that the gospel writers are reliable in regards to their claims is often more effective than just dismissing miracle claims outright. Because I think that when you do that, they kind of have this sense of vindication, like, well, they dismissed us out of hand, so ha ha ha, we still win.
Well, that'll be interesting to see. Back when I was hosting the show, leading up to the Y2K moment, for a year we had a segment on this very program called the Rapture Report. And basically what we did was, from all over the internet and other news sources, we collected predictions of the impending end of the world that were usually Christian, but not always. And then on the date that was predicted for that world-ending event, we would report that it hadn't happened. Or usually the weekend after, because that's when we did the show. I don't remember, I mean, we went over dozens and dozens and dozens of these predictions, and I don't remember any of them making the particular excuse that you're talking about, that you are predicting. Usually they would either shut up and you wouldn't hear from them again, or they would simply revise their prediction. They'd say, oh, well, I calculated it to be, on this particular day in the year 2000, but now we know that, no, I misinterpreted the number of legs on the horses of the apocalypse or something, and now my new prediction is for this date. And then eventually they'd go away. We had to drop the segment eventually because there just wasn't enough to report.
We're way past Y2K.
But we may need to resurrect that segment as 2012 approaches, because
Y2K12.
yeah, son of Y2K. I don't know.
All right. Well, that's all really that I wanted to say. But like I was saying, I think that a lot of the whole the resurrection argument, they make all of these. They try and play it as, if Jesus hadn't been resurrected, then why would the disciples claim otherwise? And I think that there are examples throughout history of different religious groups when the prophecy has failed to be fulfilled. They'll just, like I said, they'll invent victory out of the jaws of defeat. I know there was a group in Japan where, he predicted, the cult leader predicted that an event would occur on a specific day, and then it didn't happen, and he committed seppuku, he cut his abdomen open, but he survived it, and then afterwards, retroactively said that the reason that the end of the world was averted is because he took the sins of the world onto himself, and that sort of thing.
Well, we should send him like a thank you card or something. There's a number of cases like this that touch on what you're talking about. I think, to kind of diverge back to what you're talking about with regard to the Jesus resurrection and why would, for example, the disciples say that it happened? I don't know that they did. I mean, that's one of the positions I'm in. I'm not in the case of calling eyewitnesses liars because I'm not aware that I have any eyewitness reports at all. I have second and third hand reports. It may have been the case that they were lying. It may have been the case that they were delusional. It may have been the case that they were mistaken. It may have been, one of the things where I heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody. And it could be, the reason I think that your prediction is likely to come true in part, and the reason I think we see some of this, some of the events like this, has to do with how much somebody has invested in something. Unlike the scientific method, where you have a great investment perhaps in your hypothesis, but you have a greater investment in the truth, so that when a particular experiment fails, your investment in discovery of the truth allows you to say, oh, this failed. Clearly I was mistaken, or I've done something wrong. I need to investigate and figure out what happened and rework things and keep going. But and I'm sure there are, I'm not saying that scientists are these, pillars of propriety and are completely emotionally divested. No, I think they're very passionate about it, but they have a larger investment in truth by and large. In the cases of these 2012 predictions or any sort of prophecy like this, what you have is somebody getting emotionally invested and perhaps financially invested as well in something that is a core value that to them isn't superseded by anything. It's very rare that you're going to find somebody whose investment in truth is such that it's going to override it. And so, yeah, you're going to have people saying, oh, well, something happened, or nothing happened because we did X. And then there's going to be others, of course, that say, well, we got the date wrong, and this is still coming. And despite the fact that they've obviously been wrong once, they're going to keep going.
Yeah, they'll milk it as long as they can and eventually drop it and try to salvage what's left of their reputations.
Yeah, you know, I got a word of knowledge from God, and he told me this wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I 100% agree. And I think, you know, when we look at the disciples, you have a group of people who abandoned their jobs, they abandoned their possessions, they abandoned their families and followed an itinerant preacher around the desert for, you know, 3+ years or so. And they had everything invested in that. My basic point was, I didn't mean it so much as criticism, but I think, like, even if we accept that the Gospels count as eyewitness accounts, I think that, you know, the resurrection argument can pretty much be beat on every levels. And so I feel kind of disappointed when people will just say, well, I'm going to, it's miracle claims, so I'm not even going to take it seriously. And I'm going to hang up. That's all I got to say. Thank you for having me on. Love the show.
Thank you much.
Thanks very much for your call.
Who do we have next, Joe?
Next, you got Matthew from the UK.
Matthew from the UK. Call him up.
And he wants to
We're
know
calling-
if necessary. Okay.
We're calling across the pond, and you'll be shocked at the quality of the audio, as it sounds like he's right here. Matthew's sitting right there. We're lying.
Matthew? Oh, geez. Now, see, we have this moment. I'd like to make my own little 2012 prediction, and that is that the movie, which I think is by that name, that's coming out soon.
I think it's 2012.
is going to suck.
I wouldn't place bets against you.
I saw a more recent trailer for it, and it looks like it is, in fact, a thinly disguised remake of When Worlds Collide,
Oh, how
as was Deep Impact, which is silly because the original movie was by George Powell. Was
So
awesome.
reportedly, we have Matthew from the UK online.
Matthew?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello there.
You're just very quiet. We've got you.
Okay, sorry, is that better?
There you
Yeah.
are. Yeah,
Great.
awesome. What's up, Matthew?
All right, well, I was watching last week's show
Mm-hmm.
and about the morality, and there was a bit of trouble with the definition of necessary,
Uh-huh.
and I thought this, basically, it's quite simple. It's something is necessary when there's only one way of doing something. So, if there are two ways of doing something, and one causes less harm than the other, and it's reasonable for the person to take the least harmful route, then that's the moral action.
So you're the guy that called in last week with
No.
the three
No.
rules? No?
No, I
You're not that
was
guy?
watching,
Oh, okay.
but I just wanted to call about this idea of
Yeah.
necessary.
Yeah. It seems to me, though, that it's all too easy to have competing necessities, even if you get past the problem of defining, how you determine whether something is necessary or not. What if you've got a situation where party A needs to have one thing happen and party B needs another thing to happen? I mean, then you've got a dilemma. And my reaction to this, we had a caller named Matthew last week who proposed these three rules of how to tell whether an action was moral or not. Huh?
There's a gnat.
Yes,
Oh. And
but it depends
Yes.
on what is the aim. So if
Yeah.
your aim is, if a person's aim is to sorry, I'm getting confused by the delay.
don't
If
listen to
somebody's
Yeah, don't watch the
aim is
stream.
to obtain money,
yeah.
then that person tries to obtain money in a way that, I mean, I don't really understand the problem which you're presenting, basically.
the problem I'm presenting is, suppose you got two people on an island and they both need to eat, and there's just enough coconut for one of them. Right? I mean,
Okay.
that is a situation where there are two parties, each with a thing that they need, and they can't both be satisfied. So I just think, I think
But it
that
seems
you
a bit of
don't.
an
I
odd
don't
thing,
think that.
because I mean, if coconut isn't going to help either of them in the long run.
But let's not quibble, though. I
Well-
mean, it's a fact that there are situations where two parties will be in a conflict because they each have a legitimate need. It just happens. And that was just a simple off the top of my head example. I just think my reaction.
I'm
sorry.
I'm trouble. See, that's not helping me understand the problem you're presenting.
Well, I'm having difficulty. Oh, you called to challenge something that somebody else mentioned, and your first objection was on this issue of whether an action is necessary. And under your definition, it's necessary when it's the only possible action. And I'd say that if there's only one possible action, that
It's
there's
nearly
no
never.
that there's no moral dilemma at all. If there's only one possible, you have to have a choice in order for there to be a moral dilemma. You have to be able to evaluate two different actions. If there's only one action possible, which is what you're describing with your definition necessary, then there is no choice and no dilemma and no moral decision to be made.
I think there is even then.
Well, not if there's only one possible action.
Vampires. A vampire needs my blood in order to live, right? He, according to the other caller last week, gave 3 rules by which to judge the morality of an action, right? Is it, if it's intentional, unnecessary, and harmful to life, then it's bad, right? Well, here's a vampire. He intentionally harms me by taking my blood, which he needs. And I just want to, what I want to say about this idea that you can even boil morality down to a simple set of hard and fast rules is no, you can't. Because even if something is necessary, that does not, you have to take into account the rights of other people who might be impacted by that necessary action. I am not obligated to hand over my blood to a vampire just because he actually needs it.
So you're saying that the vampire needs the blood? And
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
we're going
it's some
with-
aim that the vampire has.
Hang on,
that the
let's-
only way of getting it is by
Right.
taking the blood. That's part of what you're saying.
Yes, even if it is. If we're in this, of course there are no vampires, but suppose this is a
Which is,
hypothetical.
I have a better example.
Okay, go ahead.
Jeff and I are drowning in the ocean, and there's one life preserver that will only support one of us.
Right.
I need it to survive, and he needs it to survive.
Yeah, and that's the point. There are actual moral dilemmas. You can. I don't think it is possible to boil morality down to any small set of rules that when you apply them, they always give you the right answer. And the reason why you can't do that is there are real dilemmas that you're going to get from any set of rules like that. Moral decisions. You can use sets of rules like that as rules of thumb to get you as far as they can go, but you're still going to get into situations where, there, in the case of that Matt has hypothesized, there's no good answer. One of us is going to die, or we both will.
Okay, well,
That's just life.
it seems that in that situation, it's got there's 2 equal claims for the life preserver,
Yeah.
and that I accept that, but I can see a problem there. The thing is, it seems that I'm not quite so dismissive of these rules of thumb as you've called them.
Well, I'm not dismissive of them, but I think you have to understand they only get you so far. Right. There are no simple answers to moral dilemmas. I just don't think they're not universal simple answers, because when you start looking at all of the factors in a situation that you're trying to judge morally, it's all too common for there to be conflicts that can't be resolved by those kinds of rules of thumb. And then you just have to bite the bullet, make some kind of decision, and live with it.
Somebody else raised another question, and this might also go to show why, I like the idea of coming up with a simple guideline that you could perhaps use as a rule of thumb that may be able to address a wide variety of moral situations but not give you absolutes. Jeff and I are friends. If Jeff has a sunburn on his back and I intentionally, unnecessarily slap him on the back knowing that this is going to cause him pain, have I done something immoral? What if we have the type of relationship?
I would think you have.
What if we have the
It's
type?
fairly trivial, but you have.
What if we have the type of relationship where this type of thing is a gesture of affection? I screw with him and cause him pain on occasion. He screws with me and causes me pain on occasion. He's not, upset.
Then we're at
It's
then we're at a meta level where we have an agreement between us that, in fact, we're not going to judge things like that as bad.
Wait till you get a sunburn, son bitch.
It's-
I'm gonna come after you hard. That type of thing. I don't think that anything immoral was done because within the context of us, that is an accepted behavior. And you could even go towards,
I would agree. It depends on the aim.
Okay,
All right.
which is
So,
my only objection to it.
do we have any questions still out there unresolved? Or
I'm sorry, I lost you.
Have we answered this problem now? I mean, do you
I
have any
can
further
see
questions?
where you're coming from, I think.
Yeah.
But what I would say in response is that
Yeah.
it depends on the aim. So if your aim is to have a bit of fun, and it's not causing, in a way, the only way of having fun in that way is to slap your friend on the back who's got a sunburn. That's the only way of making that joke. It's
So in that case, you would say it was actually necessary because of the goal. So it doesn't fit all three criteria.
yeah.
Okay. I can see that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that that those three rules that a caller presented last week never work. I'm saying that a set of rules like that is only going to get you so far. That's my only caveat about it. I mean, I like. Let me rephrase that. I don't like. I understand people wanting to have simple guides through moral quandaries, but the reason I understand that is because I think moral quandaries are, by definition, generally difficult and complicated, which is exactly why an overly simplistic set of rules isn't going to completely solve it. As a set of rules of thumb to get you as far through the problem as they can, that's fine. But what you would not want to do is make the mistake that, say, theistic people who latch on to, say, the Ten Commandments as their set of moral rules. If you mistake the set of rules for hard and fast, absolutely in every situation, these are going to solve the problem for you.
They're far too inflexible.
Then you've gone too far. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yes. No, I agree with that. Perhaps I'll email you with what I think in more. That's going to, rather than waste time here.
Okay.
But may I take up another question with you?
Sure.
Where to start with a premise and build up an argument on top of it.